I get a lot of feedback about custom keyboards that people needing a numpad usually feel left out, as the custom market is just dominated by small form factors, so I definitely wanted to check out this X98 from WinStudio. These were in stock last month for a very brief moment. There was 400 units. They sold through really fast because WinStudio has a pretty solid reputation. This is in group buy right now, but it closes out pretty quick, like September 19th, I think. The original in stock ran on clickclack.io and only in 3 colorways: blue and red, white and pink, and this, gray and chocolate, which I thought was the best of the 3. The group buy adds 5 more color options, including a really nice black and gray. It's available in a wired version for $320 and Bluetooth for $350, which we've got here today. I will say that every part of this board feels like quality. Even before you open the box, get a load of this. The logo is animated. Never seen that before. So this is my first take on a 98% layout, and I'm really impressed with what they've done here versus most of the 1800 layouts that I've seen. I love that the arrows aren't exploded out and they don't cut into the numpad. You get a full, legit numpad without having everything smushed into a single block, and you still get an F13 position and an additional column of 3 keys. It still feels pretty compact. It's under 4.5 centimeters wider than a TKL. It's got a front height of 20.8 millimeters and a 7-degree typing angle. It's just really comfortable, really functional board. Really hefty too. The weight when it's built exceeds my 5-pound scale. I've got a 3-piece case design here. So you have the top that has this nice little brass accent, as well as the PVD-X logo, very clean. Then we have the lower that has the clear-coated brass weight, the 3000 milliamp hour battery for the Bluetooth, and the daughter board. We also have this little ring that makes up the lower accent, so the secondary color runs all the way around the edge of the board. These early in-stock units came with a polycarb plate. Since we're using Bluetooth, this is split as a main plate and then a separate plate for the numpad. The PCB is all one piece in white with flex cuts. It is thin at 1.2 millimeters, so we'll need to use the included shims. You can set the bottom row up either using a 6.25 or a 7U spacebar, and you can choose between regular or stepped caps lock. You also get Gateron ink stabilizers included, as well as the extras for the numpad. We have a ton of included foam options, a thin and a thick lower option, plus PCB foam, plate foam, and a PE sheet. I'm gonna go with only one lower, the thin, and I'm not gonna use the PE sheet because using all of this together will result in a pretty predictable marbly sound. I'm using some really interesting switches today from Novel Keys. These are the NK Cream Dreams. Cream Dreams. Yeah. For those of you that feel like NK creams perform their best when they're broken in, these are actuated 600,000 times at the factory before they're shipped out. When you lube these, which you should, you'll have to keep the stem and the housing for each one together because that's how they're broken in. I've never really used creams extensively. I had one set really early on. I over-lubed them really bad, but these are not as smooth as I anticipated. They still kind of have a powdery feel to them, even lubed. Now, auditioned by themselves outside of the board, they sound and feel pretty inconsistent. And with the factory break-in, they do come at a higher price point, obviously. The mounting on these in-stock units is gasket only, and we get these little silicone socks. I like these more than I like stick-on gaskets because they're just a lot easier to work with. The group buy units evidently have a dual mount system where you can choose between gasket or top mount. It was more challenging than usual to find a keycap set to match this. The gray was easy enough. The brown was a bit tougher. Ultimately, it came down to an older ABS Dolch set from EPBT, which was pretty good, but it's absolutely not gettable. So I went with DCX Dolch from Drop. Both work really well. I like the sound of this board. For some reason in the recorded test, it sounds sharper to me than when I'm just sitting here using the board, where it sounds a lot more muted. And I really like the Dream switches more in board than when I'm just listening to them. Like, they don't feel inconsistent when I'm typing on them versus when I'm sitting there scrutinizing each one. I think I hit the sweet spot for sound too. I'm glad I didn't add that PE sheet, as it would have tipped it just a bit too much into that marbly sound for me. One thing I noticed when I was building is you can get that ping or resonance on the top part of the case. I don't notice it when I'm typing, but if you tap on the board, you get that ringing that we heard in like the early copies of the Q1 or more recently the Synth 75, stuff that would require a force break mod. Again, you can tap it and demonstrate that, but I don't get it at all when I'm typing. That probably comes down to the amount of foam that you use inside your build. If you start to strip a lot of that foam out, it may reveal itself, particularly on certain switches, so your mileage may vary, but if it does start to pop up, it's easy enough to mod out. With the PC plate, it is a softer bottom out sound. You can show off a bit of flex too, but you don't really feel this flex in typing. On the topic of Bluetooth, it works very well, connects fast, didn't miss a beat for me in typing. There's a little on-off switch under the caps lock. Battery life lasts a very long time here because there's no RGB or backlighting anywhere on this board. The only LED I can find find it all is the caps lock indicator. If you're running the wired version, you have QMK and VIA support. Bluetooth config is handled by their LDN app. I was pretty much firing blind with this until I found the app, but it's really intuitive and works great. It supports 3 paired devices, and in my testing, it recognized and paired flawlessly with iOS devices and my Windows PCs. Interestingly, there's an output battery life mode that will type out the remaining battery in any box where you can output text. This is the part where I should find something negative to help balance this review a little bit. I guess some users would prefer to have a backlight here, and sound and feel is pretty subjective. Some people will find this too soft or muted. I'm sure you start to get resonance and hollowness as you pull foam out of here, but they give you enough foam to really tune it, and you can force break mod if you really need to. Some other colorways are pretty wild, but if you're able to go with something simple, this could easily pull double duty for a board between work and home. The Bluetooth goes a long way for that. You throw some silent switches in this thing and you are gold for the office. I think the price feels really right here at $320 or $350. The quality is here, the anode looks good, you get a daughter board, you get Bluetooth. It's really comfortable from both a typing feel perspective and from a height angle perspective. Depending on colorway, it can be a subtle, really classy look. This is my first board from Win Studio, and I understand why people are fans. It's a great job all the way around. If you're the person that's always wanted a custom, but you need that full Numpad experience and you don't want to mess with an additional separate device for that, this is it. Strongly recommend. Like I said, this is ending very soon. If you want to get in, apologies for the late video. There's links down in the description for everything you need. You may actually still find some copies of that first run in stock at Win's store. Be prepared that shipping from China is like $75 though. Yikes. That's it for today, and I will catch you all in the next one. Stay up.